how much are the refs to blame for the Cavs being down 2-0?
A lot. Refs are a lot to blame. Now, last night, the Warriors didn't get as many calls as the Cavs, but all the missed calls or bad calls, it seemed, went for the Warriors. It's not about who gets more calls. I know why people look at that, because a lot of times that should even out over the course of a game, and if it's lopsided, you think one team's getting cheated a little by the refs. But in this case, even though the Cavs were getting more calls, clearly, every time it was like, what? That wasn't that. Steph Curry just airballed it. Why is that out on a Cav? You know, or LeBron got fouled there. Why is Ty Lue getting teed up? Like, there were so many instances like that in that game that, like, every time the refs got it wrong or called it inconsistently, it favored the Warriors. But you know what? That wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. That doesn't matter. Only thing I want to see is the refs be consistent and give the Cavs the calls in Cleveland. Cavs still ain't winning this series. I'm just saying the refs should not favor one team. But I'm not even talking about last night, why they're up 2-0, why the refs have a lot to blame. I'm talking about the night before, or the game before. Game 1, not only did a series of calls go the Warriors' way, but a foul call was changed, a charging call was changed to a blocking call on a play that should have never been reviewed. So, and by the way, the refs got that right upon review, but that call, even upon review, could have gone either way, and it got when it should have never been looked at in the first place. It got overturned on LeBron James in the finals. That is extremely, let's say, unusual. So the refs absolutely affected the fact that it's 2-0 because of Game 1. And I'm not saying it would have changed Game 2, but man, the Warriors were the beneficiaries of a lot of swallowed whistles and then whistles that they should not have gotten last night.
With all due respect. Hold on. With all due respect, you dancing. Here's the reality of the situation. Either you believe that the referees have affected the outcome or you don't.
Game 1.
The fact of the matter is that, guess what? If the game is called differently, because I don't have a problem with any argument that you just made, I'm just sitting there saying in the same breath that you said that, you're saying it doesn't make a difference because the Warriors will win anyway. Well, we don't know that if some of these calls go their way. I mean, the reality of the situation is that blocking foul that was ultimately called against LeBron James, that would have had the Cavs up by 2 with 36 seconds left, and the ball in Game 1. If the Cavs would have won Game 1, then we'd be sitting here tied 1-1 with the Cavs having home court advantage. Not to mention the fact, what happened in Game 1? Forget just the play. Let's look at it from this perspective. Jeff Green and Tristan Thompson had a huge advantage in that game. They were allowed to be physical. They had a 15-point rebounding advantage over Golden State in Game 1. So if I'm allowed to be physical with you and I have a rebounding advantage where I'm limiting you to one shot and the calls are not going against me, we've got ourselves a series. And that changes what happened in the Houston series. As great as CP3 was before he went down at the end of Game 5. You know, James Harden had his moments, okay? I didn't think he choked. He had his moments. You look at the P.J. Tuckers, the Eric Gordons of the world. We can point to the three-pointers from Houston or lack thereof. But the reason that Western Conference Finals was a 7-game series is because we saw something from a D'Antoni team we had never seen, a team that played defense, that got all up in Golden State's grill and made them uncomfortable. They were physical, they were up in them, and they said, we're going to challenge you. And at least 3 of those games, the referees called in favor of Houston. So I'm thinking, if you're going to get some calls and you're going to allow it to be physical and you have LeBron James on your squad leading the way, okay, you got a chance. No. So when I look at it from that perspective, there's nothing to wiggle around here. If the referees are calling these games differently, we got a tied series, and who the hell knows what will happen. We believe and we would favor Golden State, but we don't know definitively going up against LeBron because Harden and CP3 ain't LeBron, okay? Anthony Davis and Jrue Holiday ain't LeBron. Nobody, who you have on the San Antonio Spurs, even if Kawhi Leonard were healthy, they ain't LeBron, and it ain't the finals. And so when you take all of those things into account and look at the superstar that he is, if the game is called differently, you got yourself a series. So it's a big deal.
Well, first of all, after talking about LeBron holds the ball too much, this, and this, now you admit that any team with LeBron has at least a chance against even
I don't
the
recall
best
anything
team,
that I said
the
that was
best
diametrically
franchise in
opposed
the
to
last
that.
however many years.
I don't recall anything I said that's diametrically opposed to that thinking.
Well, I mean, LeBron makes his teammates worse, apparently, but
At times.
But okay,
At times.
no one's perfect, but actually, he makes a group of guys who have no business in the finals compete with the Warriors. Now, I'll say this.
I don't recall not saying that.
I wish home court did not affect calls the way it does, but we all know the reality is it does. And the Warriors worked for home court. They got a better record than the Cavs. They have home court advantage. The reality is that gives them an advantage in terms of calls throughout the series. So even if what you're saying is true, the Warriors would still have the advantage. But I don't care how this series is called. It is highly unlikely, under almost any circumstances, that the Cavs could overcome this Warriors team. Given the lack of defense this Cavs team plays, given the lack of effective, even starting caliber players this Cavs team has, given the experience and the championship pedigree and the All-Stars and MVP, they have 2 MVPs and 2 other All-Stars on the Warriors. So, yeah, it affected Game 1, 2-0. Yes, it probably wouldn't be 2-0 without the refs, but I don't care who's reffing this series.
Well,
I don't think the Cavs win it under any circumstances.
Last point.
Yeah.
We talk about rules changes and what have you. Let's say, I don't care what decade you pick throughout the history of basketball. If you're a bigger, stronger, physical team, you cause problems, particularly for a finesse team.
In the playoffs,
As
especially.
great as Durant is, do you see how skinny he is?
Yeah.
Do you see how slim Steph Curry is? These are the things. Sean Livingston even. You got to pay attention to that. If
He
you
had
can
a
get
nice game,
physical,
too, last
you
night.
can cause problems.